Esme, she's a queen. This is dedicated to all my beautiful queens, all my beautiful ladies out there. She's a queen. Go queen. You got it, girl. She's a queen. You better represent. Go queen. Go queen. Go. She's a queen about her business. Queen. Working hard on a mission. Yeah. Head high, purpose driven. Purpose driven. Crown on never tilted. Queen. Go queen. Go queen. Go queen. Go. Represent. You're a queen. You're a queen. Oh.
So thank you guys for joining another episode of the Q Chat Talk Show. I have two very special ladies with me today, and we're going to be chatting it up about some amazing things that they have going on, and of course, my favorite topic, self-love. I have Dr. Nicole Beach and Crystal Khalil, and they are doing some fabulous things with their platform, Yummy, Sister Diamonds, Women Unlimited, so many different things. So we're going to start right now and hear all the wonderful things they're doing for women of color. How are you all doing today?
We're
Hello,
great.
Shonda.
Hi, I'm so happy to talk to you all. So I want to get started talking about Yummy. So I don't know which one of you guys want to take over first, but I want to go ahead and have you guys tell us about Yummy, your ultimate, most meaningful yet. Just explain how you guys came up with this wonderful concept and just tell us more about it. So who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll go first, Shonda. So again, as you said, YUMMY is an acronym for your ultimate, most meaningful yet. And it is a methodology that Dr. Nicole and I co-created for living your best life. And we've realized that both of us, as individual, high achieving, strong women, had gone through a path in our lives where we were kind of driven by other people's expectations and wearing these masks. And it was all about achievement and taking care of everybody in our family and in our circle. But we weren't really we weren't living our ultimate, most meaningful yet. And we figured out that the path to living that life is liberation, activation, and acceleration. And we call that our Yummy methodology. You've got to free your mind and your belief systems that keep you stuck on that hamster wheel of doing what everybody else expects you to do, what the world says is acceptable, and you know what we need to achieve in the boxes we need to tick, and really start doing the self-work, like you said, the self-love, the self-investment, the personal and professional development, because you only know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. And when you start to do the work to really be your best self, that's when the Yummy kicks in. And then the next step is activation, starting to take action on those things that your heart and your soul are pulling you to for your purpose, because it's really not about you, it's about others. Right. So standing in your power, taking action and pushing past the self-sabotage, the sabotage of the people in our circle who sometimes love us, but they are giving us advice from their own limiting belief system. Right. We come from parents that worked their entire life at one company and then retired and got a pension. Right. You may be feeling like you may be called to be an entrepreneur, to be in the nonprofit space, or whatever is being called, you're being called to do, to stand in your power, pushing past the limiting beliefs that our people in our circle may want to impose on us, and really taking action to take up space in the world, shine your light. And then the acceleration piece comes into play when we connect with other like-minded individuals that can pour into our cup, that can support us, mentor us, connect us with others that can sponsor us and help us to accelerate that purpose to the next level. So that's the complete Yummy process and Yummy methodology.
Awesome. That's awesome. So let me go to you, Dr. Nicole, because Crystal, she just said a word. Like she just talked about many different things. Like we as women of color, especially, we have these generational curses sometimes where we think we have to follow a particular pattern. She just hit the nail on the head. There's the boxes that were presented subliminally, even as children, and we think we have to follow this one path in life. So right now, women, we're coming into our own. We're being entrepreneurs. We're starting businesses. We're making platforms. We're creating brands. From your perspective, how do we navigate? Because obviously you guys have come up with Yummy. So many people have stepped out into their own. They did not check the boxes that we were conditioned to do. So how do we navigate in that space? Because sometimes it gets a little lonely, we want to be different. So how do we navigate in that space and mentally stay whole and love ourselves in the meantime?
You just said it. Community.
Mm.
Community is a game changer. When we watch a lot of things on television now, it's really speaking to individualism. Do it on your own, as if you don't get credit and will only get credit if you do it by yourself. But the truth is, nobody does this by themselves. The objective is to be called to more and to be able to manifest that and create legacy. And that's in connection with other people.
Mm.
So removing the limiting belief, no, nobody's down for me. Nobody really supports me. I can't tell anybody anything because if I tell them something, they're gonna steal my idea. All of these things that keep us isolated, not insulated. There's a difference, right? You want to be in a space where you are in community with people that see you and they desire for you to be safe and for you to do well, and they give you enough room to try, to challenge, to push past fear, to have accountability and all of these things, because that's what's going to get you to the next level. That's being insulated, right? That's being away from the dark things, the bad things, the haters, the jealousy, the criticism, the all of that stuff, but being in community with people who challenge you and say, now, you said you were going to do that, but I haven't seen that happen yet. So what's going on? What do we have to do? How can I support you? Right? That's being in community that's going to help you flourish. So for all those women out there, Crystal and I have been on this entrepreneurial journey. For all of you who are thinking about moving in that space, community. For those of you who are in the corporate dynamic, Crystal and I have both been there. You're trying to break glass ceilings. You're trying to do things at a different level. Community. For those of you who are stay-at-home moms, or you're taking a break so that you won't break. Community. Build it, and it will build you.
Yes, yes. And just like you mentioned, and I also had a corporate background once upon a time as well. And like I said, we have so many women of color. We're intelligent, we're beautiful. We have the tools. And sometimes we're just not in the right circle. So you definitely hit a point about having that community, because I just used an analogy the other day. If you have a rotten piece of fruit in the bowl, it's going to spread. So if you have these goals and you know it's within you, you have to be in manifestation as well. You have to claim it. But faith without works is dead. We can say all day long what we're going to do, but we have to take that next step. And you hit so many points. It's also with the community. It's the company we keep. It's the conversations we have. It's how we claim those goals. Sometimes we are our biggest limitation sometimes, because we can't think further. Sometimes we limit ourselves. Sometimes we have that fear. That's the biggest F word. That's the most vulgar F word to me, is fear. And we have that fear sometimes, and it stops us. So you're right. Just having that community can really uplift you. It can build you up. And just to have that accountability partner, or that accountability circle, like, hey, like, I see something in you that you may be struggling to see right now, or you may see it, but just to have someone, or a group, or a community to speak life into you, it has so many wonderful things that can happen when you have someone that speaks life into you. So speaking of, I want to go ahead and touch on Women Unlimited, just like we mentioned, just not limiting yourself, getting out of that imposter syndrome. Can you guys tell us about Women Unlimited? I know you're going to have this great live upcoming this weekend, so I definitely want to hear about that. But definitely tell the audience about Women Unlimited, how they can learn more, how they can join, and what's the factors with Women Unlimited.
So Woman Unlimited Live is an event that we hold. It's a 4-hour experience. The next one is coming up just this Saturday, Shonda. It's womanunlimitedlive.com. Womanunlimitedlive.com. And women, what we hear from women who attend this is it is a safe space. It's an intimate space. Although it's virtual, it's intimate. We require that women come in on camera. We don't care. We don't care if you're in your bonnet at home. We don't care about that. We're going to dress up for you because that's what we do. But we want you to come as you are and feel safe, to come on and be seen. And we're going to show you that yummy methodology in action. We share our stories and we talk as community about how we get out of our own way and start walking in that vulnerable space, start walking in our power. Because a lot of us, like you said, Shonda, once upon a time you were in corporate America, right? We show up a lot of times, we're the only woman, the only person of color. I used to even be the only person that speak English sometimes in the meetings that I would show up in, right? So when you're in those spaces, you don't feel safe. You feel like you've got to wear the mask that protect us. We've got to wear that mask of perfection because we got to cross our T's and dot our I's and everything that we do. We feel like, we've got to be perfect. We've got to show up in these spaces, not just at work, but also at home, in the community, in our church. You're the one that everybody comes to for answers, but who can you turn to when you need help? Who's there to support you? We've created this space for that woman who is overwhelmed. She feels like she's pouring out, she's pouring at work, she's pouring at home, she's taking care of kids, she's taking care of husband, she's on these boards and all these things. When her friends call her, she shows up in service, humility, and excellence, but she's tired. She's overwhelmed. And she's like, who's going to pour into my cup? And in just 4 hours, women tell us when they leave, they feel like somebody has been pouring into them for 4 straight hours. They feel like they've been seen. They feel like they've gotten some things off their chest. They feel like they're free to start dreaming again. They go and brush off and pick up those things that they may have put on the shelf because they don't have time for them. Those dreams, those visions that, they've always wanted to do, but they had to put it aside because they had so many things on their to-do list that they didn't fit on their own to-do list. They go and brush those things off and they look at it with a new lens. Woman Unlimited Live it'll take a lens off of your vision so that you can see things more clearly and approach them from a different stance of power, of freedom, of vulnerability, and of transparency.
Wow.
And Shonda, one thing I was going to add too, you talked about fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about it and actually help you see how to move through it. So for so many women that come, they're like, wow, I didn't know that there was a formula, and I've been playing this all wrong. And I understand now why I'm tired, why I'm exhausted, and why every time I get to the line of pushing through, I retreat. I understand now. So now I can do something different because I have the knowledge and the understanding to do something different.
I've had many personal struggles. I've gone through mental, physical, emotional abuse. I've also grew up with low self-esteem, not feeling my value, not understanding how worthy I was. And I was able to learn through the power of self-love to overcome those sinking feelings, to be healthy, healed, and whole. I know how hard it can be to just find your place. Some of us are still struggling. We want to find our place in this world and we want to know our purpose. And sometimes that purpose may be being healthier. Sometimes that purpose may also be leaving that 9 to 5, leaving that toxic work environment. Sometimes that healing may look like just simply being healthy, happy, and loving yourself, being out of that low self esteem. That's why I created Go Queen. I wanted to reach out to other women and show them that you may have been knocked down a few times, but you definitely will not be counted out. You can take that pain that you've experienced and you don't have to be ashamed. You can take that pain and you can build your purpose. Life is so short. We are not allotted the time that we arrogantly think that we have. We have to live in our dreams and purpose right now. So, what's stopping you? Maybe you don't know how to manage your time properly. Maybe you're thinking, hey, I have this 9 to 5. I don't have the time to follow that dream, and I'll just put it off on the back burner. But one thing I can tell you that is guaranteed, each and every one of us has a day and a time when we will no longer be on this earth. So you don't have the time to waste anymore. As a purpose coach and brand strategist, I'm committed to helping women of color rise above their challenges and create purposeful and passion driven brands. You can reflect your unique story. Let me be your guide in this journey of healing and growth. You don't have to let your past hold you back from a bright future. You can turn your pain into power. You deserve to win. Mm, yes, yes. I wanted to ask you guys too. Women, like we do wear so many hats, and me personally, same thing. When I was in corporate, I was the only woman of color in my department. So that's a whole different conversation, but
Yeah.
that brings on a lot of mental stress, anxiety. I didn't realize I had issues with anxiety and acting until after I left. Like I would physically feel ill for the longest
Mhm.
until after I left. But like I said, that's a different conversation. But I wanted to ask you guys also just about the type of partners we have as women, because of course that's also an important thing. There's been a lot of conversation recently, on social media and all that good stuff about just the type of partners we have. I know like the whole Kiki Palmer thing. I wanted to go beyond that. Like I don't like to talk about celebrities, but I think it brings up a bigger conversation as far as women who have ambition and the partners that we choose and how that can play a factor in our success, even on how we deal with imposter syndrome, how we deal with having our goals. So I want to ask you and start off with Dr. Nicole, because I know like your past one put a ring on it. Obviously, you know a lot about relationships and just how we can navigate with communication and being healthy and having those healthy partnerships. How can we as women of color also just incorporate communicating, having that partner that understands us, and when we're feeling down, if we're in a relationship, how we can express that to our person that can uplift us, how we can navigate our lives and our relationships.
You know, Crystal and I, being master coaches, we move in this space a lot where women have to understand how their communication is serving them and how it's not serving them, and be able to also see if the person that they're dating has some communication tools that are going to elevate the conversation of relationship and health or tear it down. So, we talk from the science-based side of relationships when we talk about how criticism can erode your relationship, how defensiveness can erode your relationship. How stonewalling, that stuff where folk are like, you're invisible to me. I don't see you. I don't hear you. I'm going to leave the room and I'm not going to ever talk about this again. And they put a wall up between you and them. How all of these things really work together to diminish your possibility at the healthiest relationship. And what Crystal and I have recognized is, a lot of times our parents, our friends, our family members, our circle, they only give you what they have, right? And sometimes the way we were taught to communicate, to get our needs met, to be seen, to be heard, was not the best way. It wasn't vulnerable. When we talk about, we were just doing another interview and we were talking about being authentic and being vulnerable and being mindful that the objective is to not hide, protect, prove, or defend. That's your litmus test. Am I trying to hide? Am I trying to protect? Am I trying to prove? Am I trying to defend? You'll be surprised that what you're left with is you when you're not doing any of that stuff in communication with your mate, whether that's in text, in social, in a private setting, in a family setting. If what I'm about to say or do is not based on those four things, it's a whole other conversation, because then what you may get is, hey, you did this, and this is how I felt. This is what I felt from that. Versus, let me defend myself or prove to everybody what this really is. And all of that stuff that make you move your neck and make you do all that stuff, that's meaningless, because really it's two people that have to connect. And if there's something that's getting in the way of you connecting heart to heart, it's not going to do you the most good in the long run.
Right, right.
Shonda, it's heartbreaking to us to hear some of the narrative from influencers in this space of relationships on Black love. And it's rooted in condemnation of Black women or condemnation of Black men. And the science tells us that condemnation is the number one indicator of failing relationships and divorce. Anytime we say all Black men or all Black women and we put people in boxes, we are condemning them, and that's never going to promote healthy relationships. Criticism, condemnation, all those things, they're termites that just eat away at the relationship and are killing our Black families and our generational legacy as a community in Black families. What strengthens us is when we can realize that we're not one-dimensional beings. And when we have to show up in the world wearing 50 different masks to protect ourselves, and we're wearing protection from the top of our heads to the bottom of our feet, trying to cross our I's and dot our T's and make sure that there's not snipers on the building when we drive into work, and police pulling us over on the side of the road, and all of the different things that we have to deal with as a community on a daily basis to maintain our own personal safety. And then you come home to a relationship with another person that has their own traumas that they're dealing with, and we're unable to remove those masks and provide that safe space for one another. That's a recipe for disaster. At the end of the day, we just each have to do our own work. You've got to unpack. You've got to create your own safe space. You've got to invest in yourself, invest in your relationship, get some new tools in your toolbox, because you can't fix everything with duct tape and bubble gum. You just can't do it. You've got to go and get some new tools, learn how to use a hammer and a screwdriver, right? Learn how to communicate, learn how to be vulnerable, learn how to take deep breaths, take a pause, walk away, come back together, and solve some issues. So it really is difficult in our community because we are not taught to do the work. We come from, if I say in a room full of Black people, what goes on in this house, everybody can finish the sentence, stays in this house, right? We come from a community that says, you don't tell people your business.
Right.
You got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to do it yourself. You've got to do it alone. That's not healthy. No other community does it like that. So we have got to do our work as individuals and invest in ourselves. And we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. So we have created forums like womanunlimitedlive.com to have those conversations, those safe conversations that we can't have anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. And you said a lot. You're definitely right. And this goes back to just the generational. I don't necessarily like to use the term curse, but we all know what we mean by that. It's just things that are passed down, some harmful thought process and behaviors. The whole what goes on this in this house stays in this house. I think is one of the things that have caused some of us to not be more open to partake in therapy because, as we know, therapy has been taken and tossed around in a negative way sometimes, when it's one of the best things you really can do for your life is to be free. And being free is not holding on to secrets, it's not holding on to whatever toxic upbringing some of us have unfortunately had. We have to be free. And those toxic thoughts, it spills into how we follow our careers. It spills into how we raise our children. It spills into our relationships. It spills into how we communicate or lack thereof. So definitely that's true. We just have to break down and just not feel that we have to follow some type of mold because that's what we saw. If we continue to have that type of lens, we do limit ourselves. We can never grow, whether it's our relationship, whether it's being an entrepreneur, whether it's being out of our finances, having financial literacy. You know, a lot of us didn't have those conversations with our parents on credit and saving and investing. Like, what is that? A lot of us had to figure it out the hard way. And like I said, holding on to this toxic notions, just it doesn't serve us at all. So I wanted to shift and talk about this wonderful slumber party that you guys recently had and just get some information about the International Slumber Party. Where did this idea stem from? And let's hear more about that.
So in 2020, when the pandemic was giving us all this crazy conversation because we didn't know what was happening, people were being displaced. My students at Spelman, they were going through it because when it happened, they were all on spring break. They were trying to figure out where they were going for vacations and, oh, my summer internship is going to be here. And they were doing all of that. And then the pandemic occurs and many of them are going home. They're trying to figure out what life is going to be now. What is graduation going to look like? They had all of this uncertainty. And we started to see, in the new world of Zoom, that a lot of the girls were starting to experience some depression. You could see their faces looking different when they would show up for class. You could hear them after class when they wanted to talk about what was bothering them, that they were going through it. And you had that, you had the George Floyd situation. There was so much unrest and uncertainty that Crystal and I were like, you know what? Is there anything that we can do for them to help uplift them, to pour into them, to put a smile on their face because they're in quarantine? And every time they turn on the news, it's just craziness for us and for them. And what we did was brought together 50 Spelman students and have focus groups and said, if we could do something that could shift how you're feeling, what would that be? And what we came up with was what is now known as the world's largest slumber party. It was a virtual mansion where girls could learn about relationships. They saw some of the best speakers. They could learn about business. They could learn about well-being and mental health. They could connect in conversation with one another. And what we basically did was we removed the geographic boundaries and the financial barriers, because 100 countries is what's represented by the International Slumber Party now. Over 10,000 young women of color from 18 to 34 will be coming together on November 11th this year in the metaverse to experience yet another experience. That's what it is. They're going to experience an experience with each other, where girls from Jamaica are connecting with girls from Russia, are connecting with girls from South Korea, are connecting with girls from Finland, from Brooklyn, and they're making the connection of community.
Mm.
And they're seeing people do things in these speakers that they never thought was possible. And they're seeing the opportunity for legacy and shifting the trajectory of what they don't want to what they do want. Because a lot of times we focus on what we don't want. But then you ask a person, well, what do you want? Silence.
Mm.
They have been so focused that they go right back to, well, what I don't want. I get that. But what do you want? And we want to give young women the opportunity to come in spaces where they're not judged, but they're seen, they're safe, they're loved, they're poured into, they're elevated, and then they get to look across the virtual room and see someone that looks like them, and they become friends and they become connected on another level. So we are really excited. November 11th, it's going to be epic.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you want to add anything, Crystal?
It's just on top of everything that Nicole said, which is just perfect. This is a space, we say girls, but these are women ages 18 to 34. We call them our girls because we're speaking to our younger selves. We've provided this experience for our younger selves. But it is also a space where they are learning a new technology. This year we are being innovative. We are doing the International Slumber Party in the metaverse. So our young interns and mentees are creating this experience for their sisters around the world in the metaverse, which is just crazy, right? This is going to be a space where it's going to live on past November 11th, where they can go and hang out in that space. You can join from the AR VR glasses, or from your computer, or from your phone, and it's free. It's free, Shonda. We have eliminated all barriers to entry for young women around the world so that they can come and connect. They can commune with their sisters. They can learn from amazing speakers and experts. And this is something that was curated for them by them.
Yes, that is awesome. And I love how it's starting, like you said, you say girls, but it's young women who, and like something that Dr. Nicole mentioned that you guys would mention is legacy.
Yeah.
So the best thing, that age group that you guys are pinpointing, is to build that legacy. And also, older women, I'm 46, what we want to do always when we talk to younger women is to kind of grab their hand, like, wait, you like when you're with your toddler, you see they're about to fall, you run and you catch them. So you want to always catch the younger women so that they don't fall, so that certain things that we have seen, so that they may not have to see it through our lens. So that's a beautiful thing that you guys are doing. So I want to ask you all, of course, with my platform, self-love is extremely important to me. Just all the things that we discussed today, legacy, pursuing your dreams, not repeating patterns, things that we were taught as children. I want to ask you all individually, can you just give some insight on how we can tie in self-love and achieving those things? Because I do feel that self-love is the key to everything that we discuss. You have to love yourself. It is important. Loving yourself will have you know that you can achieve that goal. It will have you know that you're worthy of building that legacy. So how can we tie in self-love in everything that we talked about today? Now go ahead and start off with Dr. Nicole.
Practice. It's a muscle.
Mm.
The more we use it, the more it becomes a part of everything that we do. So the more I use self compassion, the more I experience compassion. The more I use self kindness, the more I experience kindness.
Mm.
The more I use patience, the more I experience patience. I'm not waiting on everybody else to give me that. Now, Lord knows it's a blessing when I get it from community. It's a blessing when I get it from me.
Mhm.
And that's often the piece that's missing because when I don't go first, it's hard for anybody to follow a model that's not good for me.
Mhm.
So when I'm being compassionate to myself, all the women in my community will let me know the minute it does not look like I'm being kind to me, they're like, hold up. Don't talk to my Dr. Nicole like that.
Mm.
Hold up, sis. Don't talk to yourself like that. You can't talk to my friend like that because she don't deserve that. That tone, I'm gonna need you to change that up. And what I then do is, you know what? Oh my gosh, you're right. Who am I talking to? Who am I talking to like that? So practice as much as you can. It becomes the new way of doing you, where you are actually considered, revered, respected in your own life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
I would add to that, Shonda, in building that muscle, there's a daily practice of reminding yourself who you are and whose you are, and seeing yourself the way God sees you before the traumas, the bad relationships, the heartbreak, the letdown, all those things that piled up on you, right, and pushed you farther away from the way God sees you.
Mm.
So every day, reminding yourself of the promise and not just looking at the problems, not just being stuck in the process, reminding yourself of the promise of who God says you are, who you belong to, who your source is, and just loving yourself like you would a newborn baby that
Mm.
has doesn't have any experience, just loving yourself like you would love a newborn baby, full of promise, full of light, full of love, just loving yourself the way you would a newborn baby. And it's just building that muscle. That's what's game changing.
Mm.
For sure.
Yes, yes. Thank you both for such an insightful conversation. I have definitely enjoyed myself. Before we end everything, though, please remind everyone how they can learn more about Women Unlimited, what's up next. I don't just want to make sure that everyone knows how they can get on this Women Unlimited live Saturday and also how they can get information on the upcoming International Slumber Party. So tell everyone how they can learn more.
Yes. So womanunlimitedlive.com. You can register to be a part of this 4-hour masterclass that is going to change your life. It's transformational. If you want to connect with Crystal and I, you can do that. Crystal and drnicole.com. Crystal and Dr. Nicole on all our social media handles. And International Slumber Party. If you've got a daughter that is between the ages of 18 to 34, and let me just tell y'all a secret. If you're over 34 and you're just a little more seasoned, like me and Crystal and Chandra,
Hmm.
you can crash, right? Because we have crashers every year. We have women like us that are like, girl, I saw who your speakers were. I had to be there. And then once I saw the experience, I had to stay. So there is a little bit of room for you too, just a little bit of room. But if you've got a daughter, a niece, a mentee, or a new intern that's around that 18 years old, or you've got a niece that's 34, up to that 34 point, invite them. Invite them to follow us on social, International Slumber Party. They'll hear all about it. It's free to register, and they'll get to be in the room because we know how important it is to be in the room. So, Woman Unlimited Live, register to be in the room, and International Slumber Party. Follow on social so that you can let the young women in your life know about it.
Awesome. That is amazing. And thank you guys again. Like I said, I definitely enjoyed this conversation. I love what you both are doing. You both have said so many wonderful points that I really feel someone is going to really be touched by this interview. They're going to take something with them. They're going to look at their life differently. And they're definitely going to want to follow you guys and learn about this Women Unlimited Live. Like I can't thank you guys enough. This has been absolutely
Thank you.
wonderful. And one thing that I do love that Crystal mentioned was seeing yourself how God sees us too. Because it's one thing to have an image of what we think we should be, or like you said, things that we've gone through in life and let that define us. But one of my favorite scenes in the movie Black Panther was the scene where T'Challa was fighting with Killmonger and he was giving him a good run for his money. And his mother screamed at him, "Show him who you are." And I watched that movie a billion times, and that didn't hit me until, like, I say maybe a year after I seen the movie. So what you guys are doing is just to remind us to show the world who we are and to remember whose we are. And when you remember whose you are, you can't help but win in life. So I thank you guys again for this beautiful conversation. And everyone listening, please make sure you guys check out Dr. Nicole and Crystal. I'll make sure to have all the information so you guys can tune in to Women Unlimited Live. Make sure you guys join this wonderful platform because you are a winner and you deserve the best in life. And don't you ever forget that. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Make sure you check out this wonderful conversation and more. www.goqueen.com. Make sure you be safe and make sure you go love yourself.
Della must have did this beat